What's up guys, it's your boy Dekkster here, and I wanted to talk about Tombs of Terror, the new solo adventure for Saviors of Uldum. It just came out and it's a lot of fun. I think the solo adventures are getting better and better as time goes on. I'm actually really enjoying this. I just wanted to give a couple tips or tricks or general advice as you play through your first time, you know? So let's go ahead and look at what we have here. It's going to be Wing 1 that we're playing. You can play Wing 2, but I'm going to talk about Wing 1 in this video. So there are going to be these Plague Lords with 300 health. They are the 8th boss. If you manage to get to them, you can beat them in one go, but don't sweat it if you don't beat them in one go. If you manage to drop them from like 300 to 200, next time you get to them, assuming you've lost, they'll just have that 200 health. And if you drop that 200 to 150, next time you play them, they'll only have 150. And then once you drain it below 300, that's it. You beat the Plague Lord. So you can play Reno and Finley. First, I'm going to go through Reno, and after you've chosen your hero, you get to choose a signature treasure. Now everyone gets the lucky hat right off the bat, and it's actually pretty good. It does, you know, a lot of things. +2/+2 and +2 spell damage. It's nothing to laugh at. And then as you play, you will unlock more treasures. But really, you can do this with the lucky hat. So we'll go ahead and choose the lucky hat, and then from here you get to choose a hero power. You get Relicologist and Arcane Craftiness later, and you can see how to beat these. So maybe you want to, you know, try and activate combo effects and do damage with spells. Even if you're gonna beat a boss, maybe shove in some extra BM so you can unlock these things. But you're gonna start with Amateur Mage, which is pretty sick. You deal 1 damage and your combo does 2 damage instead. This is great for like burning their face or just clearing some minions, you know? So just like hero powers and treasures, as you defeat more bosses, you will unlock, you know, decks 2 through 4, but you will start with the Novice Spell Slinger. And this deck it's just fine. It's really not bad at all. You've got a really low mana curve. You jam a Babbling Book, maybe you jam an Apprentice after that, maybe you hit the Apprentice with the lucky hat, and next thing you know, your opponent's probably just gonna die. All right, so let's look at Finley. So for Finley, once again, you start with this helmet. This helmet gives all your minions +2 health, and then you shuffle this into your deck. So it's kind of an anti-fatigue tool if you wanna, you know, go about it that way. It might actually work on the final boss or something. You know, you unlock these other treasures as time goes on, but we're just gonna talk about the helmet. So just like Reno, you get to choose a hero power, and you only have new recruits, and this summons a 2/1 Amalgam Explorer. So the Amalgam Explorer is going to be a 2/1 minion. It's an amalgam. It's all different kinds of tribal synergies. If you want Murloc, you want Beast, you want Elemental, it's everything, but it's most useful for its Murloc synergies, especially against the last boss. You're going to be pulling out a ton of Murlocs from your deck. Maybe you land a War Leader, and it ends up giving your Amalgam Explorer plus damage. But if nothing else, a 2 mana for a 2/1, that's no joke at all. If you end up not beating it on your first try with Finley, hopefully you've summoned enough minions to get, you know, this Bubble Blower unlocked, because this is really sick. It doesn't seem to do much, and it gives you overload, so it might slow you down. But if you combo the Blower with the Lance here, which hopefully you've unlocked as well, if you've done 50 damage to the Plague Lord, then this essentially has infinite durability. So that's a pretty cool combo. Now I think one of the main things you have to consider when you're building your decks and you're just progressing through the solo adventure is the final boss, which is Vesh, Plague Lord of Murlocs. Now this guy has 3 different phases. He's really cool. He summons a ton of Murlocs, and as you're choosing your loot and progressing through the solo adventure, you 100% have to keep in mind the final boss, his different phases, and how picking different things might impact you or negatively impact you once you finally get to the Plague Lord. So I'm gonna go over Vesh's 3 different phases here. The first phase is from 300 to 200 health, and he's immune. He only takes damage when Murlocs on the board die. Now this could be your Murlocs, which is great if you chose Finley, because, you know, you have the Amalgams, which count as Murlocs, but of course his Murlocs. So as a general tip here, I kind of just leave up the Primal Fin Totem if they end up playing one, because it's a 0/3 and it just summons 1/1 Murlocs, which you essentially just do 3 damage to his face. So you kind of just want to develop a board and slap his dudes down. Kill as many Murlocs as you can, and then phase 2 starts when he hits 200 health. Now when he hits 200 health, he gets a hero power called Ashes Anew, where he destroys a friendly Murloc and turns it into a Golem. Now this Golem is a 0/4 taunted minion, and when it dies, it gives +1/+1 to all Murlocs on the board. That's all Murlocs, not just his, so you want to maybe develop all the Murlocs that you can on your side of the board before popping this Golem. Also, this is 0 mana, and he has to cast it every turn. So general tip here is to try and develop as many Murlocs on your side of the board as you can before you hit that. Maybe before you hit the 200 health phase, before you even enter that phase 2, you want to try and have a nice big board of Murlocs, because you know he's going to get those golems. So phase 2 lasts until he has 100 health. Once he has 100 health, he gets a new hero power, and that is called Murlocs. It's 15 mana, so you're like, how does he actually cast this? Well, after any Murloc dies, yours or his, it reduces the cost by 1. So if 15 Murlocs die, this is only 0 mana. Anyways, what he does is he grabs every single minion on the board and he puts it into his own deck. So in a way, he's kind of anti-fatigue. I mean, I'm sure he could fatigue if you just never play minions, but he kind of anti-fatigues himself. Now, the best way to play around Murlocs is to try and have a huge board before you go into this phase. He is just going to flood the board every single turn, so you want to keep punching him over and over and just try and kill him as fast as you can, because he's not going to run out of resources. Do keep in mind how much mana he has. Is he going to cast Murlocs the next turn? And maybe like don't overextend your own board. If he's going to cast Murlocs, do you have an 8/8 that you're going to drop even though you only have 1 space on the board? Maybe don't drop it till after he Murlocs. After he Murlocs, hopefully that takes his whole turn. Then he could develop a big minion and he's not going to Murlocs that next turn, so you'll be able to connect for a ton of damage that following turn. So as he Murlocs, flood the board, punch him in the face. He's going to Murlocs again, flood the board, punch him in the face. Just try and pace your resources out there. And ignoring his board is generally good, because when he Murlocs, he kind of destroys his own board. So try and ignore his board unless he has, you know, something really scary like a war leader, or I don't know, maybe a Scargill, I don't know. But anyways, keep this plague boss in mind as you're choosing treasures. It's really important to build around this. So let's go ahead and look at the passives and the different treasures. And I just want to go over my favorites. Now, there are a lot of cool treasures out there, and I just want to talk about a couple that I really enjoyed and that I kind of recommend, or just give you my thoughts on them. So these are going to be offered to you at different intervals as you progress through the solo adventure. And once again, you definitely want to consider the final boss when you're choosing these. Zephyrus's Lamp is actually insanely good. I mean, when you play standard, people have such deck restrictions where they build their deck as a singleton just so they can get the Zephyrus Wish, and with this you get Zephyrus's Lamp, which is 0 mana. You don't really care about the 3/2 body that much, you just want that wish, and it starts in your opening hand. I was offered actually 2 of these during one of my runs. I took them both, and after your mulligan, these just appear in your hand, and they're very nice to get you out of sticky situations. Or maybe it's turn 5, you don't know what to do on turn 6, you want to throw down a high main. Maybe you end up getting a big board of Murlocs and you hit them with the Bloodlust. Like, this would be great against the final boss. In the final phase, after you get him, you know, to phase 3, you have a board full of Murlocs, you play 2 lamps or 1 lamp, you hit him with the Bloodlust. Like, that's pretty good, man. That's a lot of damage. You can almost kill him in one go. Another card I really enjoyed was the Runaway Gyrocopter, which is 5 mana 5/1 with Rush and Death Rattle. Deal 5 damage to all enemy minions, then shuffle this into your deck. Now, if you're playing against the final boss, this is just a huge board clear, and the fact that it shuffles back into your deck is a big deal. You just have to make sure that this thing dies. If you're in that final phase, you don't actually kill this, he might just shuffle it into his own deck, and you're gonna be pretty upset. But this card is so good. Another card that really impressed me was Blade of Burning Sun. Now, this doesn't seem that great. It's kind of got the waggle pick stats, but giving minions in your deck +2 attack is really not bad at all. And the Death Rattle is very important. This returns to your hand much like Valinir. And so you slap your opponent in the face, you break this thing, you get it back in your hand, you can re-equip it and buff the minions in your deck again. So this thing actually surprised me. I really did like it. Let's move on to Primordial Bulwark. Now, this also surprised me. I initially looked at this a couple days ago and didn't think it'd be that good, but it blocks lethal damage and deals 20 damage to your opponent. Now, keeping this in mind, you can kind of change your play style. Like, maybe your opponent's at 25 health, they got a huge board, you just drop them down below that 20, and then when they give you lethal damage, they're gonna actually die first. Now, do keep in mind this is not an ice block, so it'll block the fatal damage, but then they could just kill you right after that. So you gotta definitely keep that in mind. Right, Krusty the Crustacean is actually so good, and it's really good against the last boss. Now, right off the bat, it's a 1 mana 3/4, which is just insane as it is. And the fact that you can eat something and get double its stats, this thing is bonkers. Like, you get this early, it's just gonna win you games if you end up drawing it. And then once Plague Lord starts dropping those, you know, 8/8 Murlocs, you kind of just eat one of those, get +16/+16 to this, and then they have no way to actually remove this. You punch them in the face turn after turn for huge damage. One card that really surprised me was Disc of Swiftness. I was originally thinking, you know, your opponent passes their first 2 turns, it's not a big deal, who cares, it's not like they develop too much anyways. But oh my god, I was able to beat my opponents by like turn 4 by using this. I play a 1-drop, I play a 2-drop, they haven't done anything, I play a 3-drop, now they're finally doing some stuff, but it's too late. I could just ignore their board and set up the next turn lethal. Disc of Swiftness actually seemed like a sleeper to me. Once again, I was skeptical to pick it because I had better options, but I wanted to mess around with it, see if it was any good at all, and oh my god, I totally recommend this. And if you do choose this, do keep in mind that you want a strong aggressive start. Look for those 1-drops, look for those 2-drops. If you get a 1 into a 2 into a 3, it's almost like you win. But once again, this isn't that useful against the Plague Lord at the end, so be careful picking it, but it does make bosses 1 through 7 really easy. Alchemist Stone is something you definitely want to pick, along with the Dark Light Torch. Playing even cost cards and odd cost cards, like everyone's gonna play those. You're gonna get great value out of these. So if you see these, it's almost like an instant pick, unless of course it's up against something that's got a bit more value. But you just get these huge tempo swings. You know, playing a 1-drop is gonna make your other 1-drops cost 0. Then maybe you can play your 0-drops as well. Just make a huge board for very little mana. Oh my god, there's so many cool treasures out there. It's pretty hard to go through all of these. But Titanic Ring is actually insane. All your minions have +1 health and taunt. Like, this is so good. I think it's an instant pick, especially if you're playing Finley, because every Murloc you summon will be a 2/2 amalgam. Anything you play at all will have that extra health and that taunt, and even if one of your minions gets killed but you have a redemption down, that's going to come back with 1 extra health and the taunt. So my god, Titanic Ring I feel like might be one of the best ones in the game. And then one to really consider not picking is Ever-Changing Elixir. Going through Bob's different phases, I ended up getting, you know, like a Sorcerer's Apprentice that was a 1 mana 7/6 or something like that. But I couldn't really play it because then it'd just get evolved into something random. You also don't want to choose this if you have Krusty, because you don't want your Krusty to get evolved. So I would honestly recommend not choosing this unless you really want some randomness. Okay, now the Bob's Tavern phases are actually really fun. I do enjoy these quite a bit. A lot of them seem like you don't want to use them at all. Study Break can really hurt you. Sometimes you end up getting a bad selection of spells and you'd rather have none of them in your deck, so you might not want to cast Study Break. Explorer Retraining actually lets you choose from the 3 upgraded hero powers, so feel free to use this, and I believe you are offered your original choice back if you end up just wanting to keep your original hero power. The Friendly Smith is really not that bad. You might end up getting offered, you know, like a 2 mana 2/2 weapon that actually turns into a 2 mana 4/4 weapon. That's pretty good. So maybe you actually do want Friendly Smith. And I also really like Work. If you do have a nice layout of your minions and you don't care to lose one too much, giving the adjacent minions +2/+2 is very valuable. Because who knows, maybe you buff up one of your 2-drops, or you buff up a 1-drop, and then you just get such a huge minion for 1 or 2 mana. It's totally worth destroying something. Of course, unless the cards are really critical to your deck and your game plan and you don't want to destroy them. There's also that other option where you can discount all cards in your deck by 1 mana. That thing is insane. I would definitely recommend doing that. You end up saving a lot of mana that way. Recruit, I only recommend using if you find an enemy minion you really want, because sometimes you don't want to take one of those enemy minions if it doesn't help your deck out at all, because you might draw it when you'd rather draw something else. Kindle's pretty good. Maybe you got a weak spell in your deck that you don't really want. Just go ahead and Kindle it and try and get it out of there. Yeah, but there's my brief overview and some tips and tricks on the first wing of the solo adventure. I really do enjoy it, and it's free for everyone, so just play it. You can really tell they put a lot of effort into this. I'm personally very excited to try it on Heroic, and I can't wait to try Wing 2 as well, and then 3 and 4 as they release. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit it with a like. I do stream on Twitch. Here's my schedule. Don't forget to follow me over there. Good luck on ladder and stay hydrated.